Strangers by Taichi Yamada. Translated by Wayne Lammers. Chapter 14. Out of the darkness came the delicate scent of a woman's perfume. In its depths the scent concealed a faint smell of flesh, which I was invited to discern, as it were, under the camouflage. Camouflage is designed to hide, but that seemed a mere pretense now as it seduced me to seek what it hid. As I slowly returned to consciousness, the scent of the perfume gradually grew fainter, and I became aware of the sweet smell and warmth of a woman's body enfolding me. I opened my eyes in slits and saw white flesh. The knowledge that I was wrapped in it was very pleasant. "How do you feel?" I heard Kay say. It's Kay." I grunted. "Are you feeling any better?" I wondered what time it was. I felt like I'd been sleeping for eons. When I arrived back from Asakusa by cab, Kay had rushed to my side in the lobby to offer a supporting shoulder. But I had rudely pushed her away. I tried to walk alone. Though I knew she deserved an explanation, I lacked the strength to speak. I had just then returned from saying goodbye to my parents, and it seemed wrong to fall straight into the arms of a waiting woman. I wanted to distance myself from any connotations of sex. Kay could not read my mind, of course, and her eyes betrayed how hurt she was by my rebuff. But she hovered close by as if to form a protective circle around me as I walked, and she got into the elevator with me. Though it is odd to speak of a single person forming a circle around me, that was precisely how it felt. She seemed braced to catch me no matter which way I fell. I knew I owed her my gratitude, but perversely I felt much the opposite. I brushed her helping hands aside again when my legs started to buckle as I stepped from the elevator into the 7th floor hallway. I shouldn't have done it. Why be cruel to her? She'd done nothing wrong. But I refused her help yet once more when I sank weakly to my knees at my front door after failing to get the key I'd dug out of my pocket into the keyhole. Now I lay in my bed. I could not remember how I had gotten there. Nor could I say whether I'd finally been able to open my own front door. I recalled only my stubborn rejection of Kay's attempts to help me. But now that feeling was only a memory as I lay in Kay's embrace. I didn't seem to mind at all. "How do you feel?" Kay asked again. Do you still feel weak?" "Well, let me see. I don't think so. No, I definitely don't feel so tired and feeble anymore." I opened my mouth to tell her this, but instead my lips pressed against the white flesh before my eyes as though drawn there by an irresistible force. It was the small expanse of flesh just below Kay's collarbone and above the broad, white elastic bandage that continued to conceal what lay beneath. I quickly came to the bandage as I moved my lips across her tender skin, and I reached to pull the annoying impediment aside. "No," Kay said sharply. "I told you before," I said. "No scars could ever change how I feel about you. I'm sorry, but you mustn't. Never." She trembled as she crossed her arms over her chest and rolled onto her stomach, her delicate white shoulders stiff with tension. "It's okay. Why can't you have more faith in me?" I put my hand on her shoulder. "It's okay. Relax. You needn't worry," I said. I gently caressed the whiteness of her shoulder, then brought my lips to it. I touched it with my tongue. The smooth white slope of her back was covered with the same fabric that hid her chest, but I did not try to pull it away again. My hand slowly descended the slope of her back and peeled away the tangled folds of blanket that concealed her bottom. Her naked white buttocks rose in two tense mounds, twisted slightly to one side. Delighting in their beauty, I touched them, caressed them, kissed them, drowned in them. In the midst of our ensuing abandon, Kay gasped out, "It's over." Yes, it's over. They're gone. In the broken breaths with which I assured her that my mother and father were gone, there was only the faintest trace of parting sorrow. We went out for lunch a little after 3. The mid-afternoon heat was intense. Because the air stood so thick with car and truck exhaust, it had become my habit to curb my breathing. But I was enjoying the outing. Kay apparently did not share my enjoyment. As we hiked toward the small Spanish restaurant a full kilometer down Route 8, she voiced a thinly veiled complaint. "Why don't you have a car?" "I did, but I gave it to my son," I said. "Once I finish the new series I just started, I should be able to afford something along the lines of an Accord again." "Promise?" Kay pleaded. "Sure thing," I said. "And we can look for a new apartment, too. Someplace without all this constant noise. And with more room. But our new building still gets to be just the two of us at night." When we reached the restaurant, we learned that they served only coffee until 5:30. "We do also have some pastries," the proprietress added with a smile. By this time, neither of us had the energy to leave the air-conditioned restaurant and wander along the scorching sidewalk in search of a square meal. We decided to settle for coffee and tarts. The restaurant was empty except for one other couple, and we chose a table that was far away from theirs. As we settled into our seats, the view of sun-beaten Route 8 outside the window seemed like a scene from a different world. It was quiet inside. Even the usual background music had been turned off. A cat ambled slowly across the hushed mid-afternoon eatery. My mother and father would never get to see this view, I thought, as grief finally began to assert itself. "It isn't going to be enough for you, I can tell," Kay giggled. "What's not enough?" "The little tart. You know, after not eating anything since last night." "It never entered my mind," I said without smiling. I was annoyed by Kay's oblivious good cheer. When my parents had sacrificed their very being for me. But in truth, I had not yet filled her in on the events of the night before. I felt I needed more time before I could relive those events in all their heart-wrenching detail. So I could hardly blame Kay for rejoicing as though some dangerous, vengeful spirits had been summarily exorcised. It wasn't really that Kay was annoying me. I was feeling guilty about my eagerness to begin a whole new happy life with her. I banished my parents and was sitting here the next day enjoying the company of a ravishingly beautiful woman. "There's something I need to tell you," I said. "Oh," Kay said with a smile. "I think I'm scared. I've already failed as a husband once. And I guess I wasn't a very good father either. I'm not sure I deserve to be loved by someone like you. So, I'd rather you didn't have any illusions about me." "Like what?" "I don't know, but I sometimes wonder what it is that you see in me. I worry that you haven't seen the real me. Everybody has illusions." "Of course. And I'm not much of a man, I'm telling you. And I guess you want me to tell you that that's perfectly fine. I suppose." "Well, no, sir. If you're not much of a man, then make yourself more of one. I'm not going to rubber stamp you as you are. You won't get off that easy, huh?" She was right, of course. My parents had affirmed me as I was no matter how much I rejected myself, even as they faded into nothingness, but it was unwise to expect the same of a lover. I don't want this to sound. Kay began with a faint smile, but stopped short when our coffee and tarts arrived. I reveled in her beauty as she waited with slightly downcast eyes for the proprietress to leave. You were saying? I urged her to go on. Kay nodded and started over. I don't want this to sound like I think I'm special or anything, but you certainly are. I jumped in. You're bright and you're beautiful and you're engaging and you have a strong sense of who you are. But I've probably been showing you only my very best side. Hiding my chest is pretty plain proof of that. I'm not into self-deprecation, but I'm no match for you even if I were to succeed in scraping together every last bit of my strengths. But my flaws are particularly terrible. I'm a grotesque mishmash. So am I. At my worst, I get so sick of my own hideousness that she fished for words, want to extinguish myself. The expression touched a raw nerve with me. I had a dreadful foreboding that Kay, too, might begin fading away right before my eyes, and that there would be nothing I could do to stop it. Don't say such things, I said. I repeated, don't say such things. Kay nodded. I could discern no dimming of her figure. As I continued to gaze at her, I felt happier and happier that she did, in fact, exist. As we walked back to our building, I said, I'd like to see your apartment. All right, she immediately agreed, but then fell silent for a time. Did you leave things in a mess or something? I finally asked. If it makes you uncomfortable, I don't have to see it today. What makes you think I'd be uncomfortable? You got so quiet all of a sudden. I was going over the apartment in my mind. Your home can reveal so much about you. I want to know everything about you. I wonder if that's necessarily for the best. Don't you think sometimes people might be happier together if they simply let some false impressions stand? Then I'll wait outside in the hallway while you plant seeds of false impressions. Nah, that's okay. I get my kicks out of pruning myself, but today I feel more like letting loose. Number 305 was next to the large, three-bedroom apartment at the end of the hall, and I had guessed from outside that it must be one of the small, single-room units with a tiny kitchen dinette. Even for a unit like that, the rent in this part of Tokyo was steep. Perhaps her parents were helping out by sending her a little extra money each month. What did they think about their daughter remaining unmarried at age 33? Did they know about her burn? Though I suppose they had to. Her parents did live, after all, in a faraway farming village an hour from the nearest city, and she could probably hide a lot of things from them if she chose. She might have decided to keep the fact from them for fear they'd start trying to meddle in her life. Not that it made any particular difference to me whether her parents knew. After you, Kay said after unlocking the door. Are you sure you don't mind my barging in like this? I already told you. It's fine. It'll take the air conditioner a while before you feel anything, but it's just as hot out here in the hallway, so we might as well go on inside. Stepping in, I was surprised to discover that the apartment was Japanese style, with a tatami mat floor. I didn't know they had tatami apartments in this building. I think this is the only one left. There used to be more. They wouldn't have been rentable as office space. Right. That's why the others have all been converted. I'd pictured a Western-style room, with a bed taking up half the room, I said. As I started to peer into the tatami room for a closer look, Kay spread her arms to indicate the kitchen and dining space just inside the door. This is my tiny little dining room. You keep it very tidy. In the middle of the brown vinyl floor of the dining area stood a small, white laminated table flanked by 2 white chairs. The old-fashioned indigo fabric of the thin round cushions placed on the seats of the 2 matching chairs looked somewhat out of place. I have some barley tea in the fridge. Shall we have it in here or in there? She said. Let's go on in there if you don't mind. Sure. In the tatami room, a cheaply made white laminate wardrobe and chest of drawers stood side by side against one wall, and a simple, country-style fold-away table sat in the middle of the room. I had unconsciously envisioned an apartment outfitted according to my more middle-aged sensibility. Seeing the unmatched, somewhat juvenile furnishings, it dawned on me that Kay was still just a girl. The discovery was quite endearing, but perhaps I was jumping to conclusions. A woman without a lot of money could ill afford to discard the furnishings she had purchased in her 20s. She could not readily redecorate according to new tastes acquired in her 30s. The fact that a 20s sensibility and a 30s sensibility coexisted in a room did not necessarily indicate that the occupant had a girlish streak. As I slowly took in the rest of the room, 2 remarkably large reproductions hanging on the opposite wall caught my eye. Those were what I was most nervous about, Kay said the moment she saw me looking at the pictures. She had been watching me from the kitchen as she poured the barley tea. Her tone of voice sounded more playful than nervous. Both reproductions were of paintings in the Japanese Nihonga style. I like Nihonga, she said. Everyone else seems to like the European Impressionists or American Modernists. Me, I definitely prefer Nihonga. Season Maeda? You recognize it? It has his seal. And you could decipher it. I've seen this one before. The actual painting is this huge, Kay said, spreading her arms wide and smiling. The painting was of a samurai warrior lying in a stone coffin. But the mood was not dark. The artist had painted the interior of the coffin a bright, bold crimson, and this combined with the ornate armor the warrior wore created quite a dazzling effect. Who did this one? I asked, indicating the second painting. That's a season too. What's this supposed to be about? That's the one I was more embarrassed about. A number of men in traditional Japanese dress, presumably from the Edo period, stood over the naked figure of a young woman lying on her back. The men looking down on her on the near side hid from view all but the woman's breasts. Kay came up beside me carrying 2 glasses of barley tea on a tray. What do you think they're doing? She asked. I noticed that 2 of the men have their hands folded, like they're praying. It's an autopsy. I see. So they're dissecting her. I like it a lot. But I was a little afraid of what you might think. Perhaps the composition of the painting, a naked woman surrounded by a group of men, did say something about Kay's sexual inclinations. But it was nothing compared to the lecherous fantasies men had. The fact that the painting showed only the woman's breasts, the very part of the body Kay so stubbornly concealed, seemed more telling to me. In no way did the picture strike me as obscene. There was a sense of restraint and tension throughout, and it was genuinely a thing of beauty. I suppose something could be made of how both paintings depicted corpses as objects of beauty, but I did not really care to psychoanalyze. I sat down to the barley tea placed on the fold-away table. As I lowered myself onto a cushion covered in a summery, sky blue flower print, I felt once again like a middle-aged man invading the private realm of a mere girl. I noticed that she had a compact stereo system. Feeling a little ill at ease, I asked her rather lamely if her musical preferences were also nativist. Puccini. I'm partial to one particular song. The opera, huh? Oh, my daddy dearest. I don't know it. I'll put it on for you. Kay rose to her feet. Some 30 CDs were arranged neatly in a case on top of her chest of drawers. The opera's called Johnny Skickie, but I don't really care for the work. It's this one song that I like. Oh, my daddy dearest, won't you buy me the ring? If my love is in vain, I'll cast myself into the river Arno. It's set in Florence. You get the prize. The arietta began playing. It was lovely. Still, the paintings and now this arietta. Though no fan of psychoanalysis, I could not but notice a certain preoccupation with death. Did her attraction to an older man like me derive from some sordid self-destructive impulse? Oh, my daddy dearest, is it? Suddenly she was throwing herself at me. With lips locked, we fell to the tatami and quickly forgot the arietta. Later that same evening, everything came to an end.